Whether you're wondering what the difference is between a loner and a free stalker, confused about what dark stalkers are, or wondering why those Nazis are shooting at you in OP 2.2, we'll be going over the original game's factions as well as Stalker 2's new factions, and some cut ones as well. And to answer the question you might have had before, coming in new to this series, loners and free stalkers are actually the same thing. They're the same faction, the loners. Where do loners hang out? All around. They're generally on good terms with almost everyone, aside from the ecologists, bandits. These guys love to hang out in Garbage and Dark Valley, maybe even Darkscape if you've got Call of Chernobyl installed or you're going through a few mods. And they're your very first enemy in Shadow of Chernobyl. Renegades. This faction shows up in Clear Sky, and that's really all they're good for. Mostly, they're just for the faction wars in my opinion. They mostly stay near the swamps, maybe go into Cordon a little bit, but 90% of the time you're going to see them around the swamps fighting Clear Sky. They're not that much different from bandits, which makes me wonder why there's a whole new faction for them, but it's not my choice, so. Duty. This faction used to hang out in Rostock until Freedom took it over in Stalker 2. Largely a militaristic faction taking after much of the military with, no surprise, having a pretty good relationship with the military. If you're playing Stalker 2, Duty is mostly diminished from their earlier capacity, as is Freedom, because Ward seems to be about 60 to 70% of, what's left. Duty believes in destroying the zone, and so naturally Freedom is its natural enemy. And since we already talked about Duty, Freedom used to hang out in army warehouses right above where Rostock is, but now they have Rostock. They care about letting the zone be. Where Duty would accept mutant parts, Freedom accepts artifacts, the military or security service of Ukraine. If you just loaded into Shadow of Chernobyl and you walked maybe 10 steps from the rookie village, you probably saw these guys at the checkpoint and decided to fuck with them a couple times. They will quickly, show you who's boss, we'll just say that. And if you play those mods that make shit a lot more frustrating, you might have to give the guy who sits at the bridge a bottle of vodka in order to get through. I guess to give you a brief overview of what they think. They want to contain the zone, and since they work with ecologists, I would imagine they want to study it, understand it a little, but mostly the military just wants to contain it. That's why they're sprinkled around. That's why, Operation Fairway was a thing. They've got an opportunity that they strongly want to take advantage of. Mercenaries. This faction is thought to have some Western origins, and it's assumed that they're paid from the highest bidder. They take on jobs to kill clients, and as such, they don't have many factions that they're, friendly with, which makes sense. Ecologists. These scientists are pretty peaceful. They don't really carry a lot of heat by themselves. Usually you'll find them contracting mercenaries to come with them whenever they go out to study artifacts or anomalies. If it's not mercenaries, it might be Duty, it might be Freedom, it might be whoever really. Like I said, they're on good terms with a lot of factions, but 90% of the time, it's probably going to be mercenaries. Sometimes it's even military too, actually. Now, the ultimate bad guy, Monolith. Whatever faction they may have come from, they're now Monolith. They're brainwashed to protect the Wish Granter, the Miracle Machine, Pripyat itself, anything the Sea Consciousness deems necessary. As Strider and his group have proven, it is possible to get out of that state, but it really doesn't happen. So they're more of an exception. Besides, Strelick himself has shown us that the programming of the Sea Consciousness can be broken. Or maybe it just wasn't that good to begin with. On to Ward. These guys are a lot like Duty, but I don't know, maybe they're just better equipped. Maybe they seem a little bit better than Duty. Not in an ideological sense, but just in a power sort of I'm gonna fuck you up sense. Spark is the faction formed by Scar, the protagonist from Clear Sky. To go back to Strider for a moment, Strider formed Noontide, otherwise known as Noon, which, if we go back to his group from Call of Pripyat, he takes and forms an actual faction, that being Noon. For other failed Monolithians, or ones that have just broken their brainwashing, whatever the case may be. the IPSF, or International Perimeter Security Force. Initially, I confused this with Ward, as I thought they were going to fulfill the same purpose. I thought Ward would protect the borders, protect the checkpoints, whatever it may be, but no, there's two separate factions for this. Not much is really known about the IPSF, other than that they guard the zone, and anyone getting in or getting out. What happened to the military? That's a great question, but it seems like now we have the IPSF. If you played Call of Pripyat, you might recognize the name Degiterov. Degiterov went on to form his own faction, the Core. This faction tends to keep itself isolated in Yaniv and Pripyat regions. If you don't care to play the second game because it's old, clunky, or you just fucking hate it, I'll tell you about Clear Sky itself. In my opinion, Clear Sky is a good bit like loners mixed with ecologists. They operate on their own, and they want to figure out the secrets of the zone. They have the means to do so and pretty good equipment, and their main base is in the swamps, which is why you'll often find them at odds with Renegades. Or, well, you did. On to cut factions, we have the International Scientific Group. If you've played a couple mods, you might know this brings them back. There's not really much known about them. If you go by Reddit, it says that the ISG wasn't a planned faction with a lot of influence on development, like Sin, but it was used in a concept for a possible Clear Sky intro. And now on to Sin itself. If you were wondering what the fuck Darkstalkers were, if I was the one who introduced you to that, this is just referring to the Sin faction. They were supposed to appear in SOC, but they didn't. I guess because they're pretty similar to Monolith. They're hostile to everyone, and they're religious fanatics. Described as zombified. They believe in the divine essence of the zone and the redemption of mankind. They attack all stalkers on sight, apparently because they came under the control of psychic mutants. They earn themselves the nickname Darkstalkers owing to their dark green coats with hoods draped over their faces. If one lifts the hood on a Darkstalker, he will see a bald head with a mutilated face. Interestingly, they were meant to inhabit the military base in the Army Warehouses area, where Freedom did. There might have been one or two I missed, but I'm pretty sure I've gotten 90% of them. At least in regards to the cut ones. I've played enough of the original fucking games to know what factions are. Jesus Christ.